Can you hear me now? Still no sound? Y'all still can't hear me? Hold on. Yo, 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 yo. Still no sound? Still no sound. Oh. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Testing 1, 2, testing 1, 2. Okay, perfect. All right. Thank you, thank you. What's up, Erica? What's up, Ife? All right, let's get it started. All right. I don't know what happened. I guess my settings were, I think I had my microphone on earlier, my other standing microphone. All right. So, peace, power, and prosperity. What's up to y'all? How's everybody doing? Hope you're having a wonderful day. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. It was Mother's Day that just passed. Shout out to all the mothers. I had this particular, I was, sorry, I'm running a little late. I was actually in meditation before I came to talk to y'all. And great shout out to the ancestor, my ancestor, Alice Coltrane. In fact, I asked her what message as I was in meditation. And right now, you guys, if you have ancestors, uncles, aunties, brothers, sisters, mamas, daddies who passed away, if you go in meditation with the idea of contacting these people, being that the veil is so thin and we have this solar eclipse and we're coming up into a lunar eclipse and we are in a waxing moon, the veil is very, very thin for contact. All you have to do is go into meditation with an image of the person. If you know what they like, tap into that. Me, I was just listening to Alice Coltrane's music and I literally made contact, communicated some things I won't share, but she told me to share this with y'all. And what she told me to share with y'all was to keep your head high and to keep your hair light. What's up, Paula? What's up, Nanita? Keep your head high and to keep your head light. Now, what I'm lighting right now, before I even get into the full lecture, I'm getting to shortly. I know sometimes I could be long ass winded in the beginning, but this is sweetgrass. All right, sweetgrass. Now I know many of you know about sage, right? Sage is popular. The way my Scorpio mind works, once it's too popular, I feel like it's weak. I feel like it's whack. I feel like it's been saturated, right? I feel like it's something that everyone is doing. Now, I do still burn sage every now and then, but I have a sage stick that has, my sage stick has a dragon's blood roped up in it. So it's not just sage. So to cleanse the home and protect the home. But sweetgrass, a lot of you who have ancestors, especially y'all from the South that have Southern ancestors, this is what they use. It comes, just to show you how I keep it. I keep it in a bag. It comes braided. You can see it's a braid. And all you do is just what I did. As you see, I lit it up. It's still lit, right? It doesn't light long, so you may have to light it for a little while. And it's not like sage where if you light it, it's just going to continue to burn. It's going to go out, kind of like when you're smoking a joint, right? It's going to go out. So, but it is also a cleanser. So you could cleanse the home with sweetgrass. If you're interested in purchasing sweetgrass, I will send it to you. You could email me or hit me on any one of my channels, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Or you can just email me directly at robblackstorm@gmail.com, and I'll tell you the price, how much it costs, and I will send you out one of these braids. But sweetgrass is another way for you to cleanse your home, cleanse your aura, and cleanse just the energy that's around you. As I always talk about, you have an electromagnetic field. And the way this system is nowadays with these towers spitting out frequencies, with people that are off frequency, with the food, the environment, the radiation from our TV, our routers, our modems, our cell phones, we have to be very vigilant about cleansing our spaces. So sweetgrass, this is something that the Gullah Geechee, the so-called Native Americans, Some of you who, your parents, your ancestors who were Aboriginal, they didn't use sage, they used sweetgrass. So it's a great way to get back in touch. So I just want to say that before I get into the actual lecture. Actually, it's still, this is burning pretty long. It usually doesn't burn this long for me. So that must mean that the ancestors want this to be known. So I'm just going to put it right here. I don't want it to burn through the bag. Let me put it right here real quick. Y'all can't see where I'm putting it, but that's good. It ain't none of your business. It ain't none of y'all business where I'm putting it, damn it. But I want to make sure it's comfortable. All right, boom. Perfect. All right. So now what we are looking at and what I want to talk about, let's start off with a story. Let's start off with a story. This is a story of a young man who grew up with a mother who was Jehovah's Witness. And as he grew up with this mother who was Jehovah's Witness, he was a very, very young, perceptive child. Now, he did, in his early teens, link back up with his father and spent time with him. But this particular young boy, most of his formative years were spent with his mother. And she was a devout Jehovah's Witness. Devout Jehovah's Witness. And those who don't know Jehovah's Witnesses, most people know about Jehovah's Witnesses from their knocking on the doors and stuff like that. So I'm assuming most people know who they are. But those who don't, Jehovah's Witnesses is just another offset, called a cult of Christianity, right? Judeo-Christianity. And as a youth, this young boy, the question that he had was the main question that never got answered logically. Once he was about 6 or 7, he started asking questions. And one of his main questions was, if God exists and he's almighty, omniscient, can see everything, omnipotent is in everything, omnipresent is all places at all times, and he's good, all good, right? God is good all the time, right? God is good every time. This is what we hear all the time in the church and, you know, in this Christian philosophy. If this is the case, why is the devil as strong as he is? Why, right? It goes to, you know, the devil is here because he was jealous of God, and the devil is here because God, you know, because he didn't want to serve God and he was cast down to earth to cause trouble. Okay, I hear all that. But in the Bible, God deals with his enemies. He deals with his ops, right? He turned Lot's wife into salt strictly for turning her head. Apparently, according to the Bible, he cursed the sons of Ham, which is supposed to be melanated people. We know, hopefully, you know that that's not true, but that's the Bible. That's the biblical story that he cursed the sons of Ham, which are melanated people, simply because his sons Ham saw his nakedness. So because he saw him naked, he cursed him. There's stories of people living in the belly of whales for 3 days because they did not follow God. There's stories of hail, fire, and brimstone coming down on Sodom and Gomorrah because he did not follow God. Because they did not follow God, right? This is according to the biblical stories. So in my 7, 6, 7, 8-year-old head asking these questions, I'm asking, why doesn't God just, and I'm reading this and I'm going to, well, I'm saying me, but the boy is me. Spoiler alert, the boy is me, right? And I'm going to, so we went to the Kingdom Hall, we went to the Kingdom Hall Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. So 3 days a week. Not to mention the study that you got to do before you go to the Kingdom Hall on Tuesday. So that was done on Monday. Then you got to study again for the Kingdom Hall, the Watchtower on Sunday, right? So I'm learning all of these stories. And I'm like, yo, why don't God just destroy the apps? Why doesn't he just burn the apps? Why doesn't he just throw fire and brimstone on Satan up in heaven? Why would he allow this particular deity to exist? Rain fire, brimstone, curse, right? Hex, do all these things to his enemies here on earth, right? but will not help children, did not help the slaves, not only melanated slaves, but the slaves in the time of Spartacus, right? The slaves that you saw in the movie Gladiator with Russell Crowe, right? The Slavs, who were also the original slaves, right? Why did God not come and save them? Why would he allow people to suffer if this person is all good? And all they did was tell this little boy, you can't understand or comprehend the mind of God. You can't understand. You just have to praise God. You just have to love God. You just have to know God loves you. And that's that. Now, for some reason, I was born a critical thinker. I've never been a sheep. I've never been a follower. I've always done my own thing. The closest I got to being a follower when I was involved in something, another alternative. I'm not going to talk about the place I was, but another alternate form of spirituality. And I was close to being a follower. But I can't even say I was a follower then because I was still a critical thinker because I'm not part of that organization anymore. So there were still things that I saw in there that I was like, the teacher was telling me that, well, I ain't gonna go into that, but there were certain things that they were telling me that I was like, this has nothing to do with spirituality. This is really your own personal view on this particular subject, right? So fast forward to the particular topic, prayer, right? Prayer and simply praising God, simply worshiping God the way we were taught, right? Those things were those things are pushed on us, right? But it's never explained how to really connect with God, right? There's never a talk about spirit possession of God. There's never a talk about invoking God, right? When people talk about spirit possession, especially in Judeo-Christian circles and to the commonplace person, they usually speak about spirit possession from a Hollywood perspective. And the spirit possession is 99% of the time negative. This person got the devil in them, right? This person has demons in them, right? This person got sin in them, right? This is the talk, right? And it's based on a Hollywood horror movie 1982 perspective that was given and has since over time has been propagated and has been repeated over and over to people think this, but people never talk about being possessed by God. People never talk about being possessed by angels. People never talk about being possessed by a divine, right? So why can you be possessed by the devil and the demons and demonic omens and all these things, but you can't be possessed by God? Somebody's lying and somebody's hiding something. So before we go into this, let's look real quick. I don't have this queued up, but let's look real quick at what God is. Let's look at what God is. I'm gonna share this. So let's look at, and those who follow me, y'all know I'll be doing research on the fly, but I like showing and proving. And, like I said in my last video, we have to be more studious and hold the people that we follow and we listen to accountable. We can't just let people tell us about they're from, the galaxy of Zeruvia, and that there's another alien race called the Aurelians, right? And they're just telling you that they just channel these things. As above, so below, right? So if there's these galaxies all up top and you come from them, the planet Risk, hey, who am I to say that these aren't true? Even though I heard all these things from Dr. York back in the 80s and early 90s and late 90s, right? But when we hear these things from these people and they're saying they're just channeling, there has to be some correspondence here on Earth. There has to be some way that they could prove it. There has to be something that is tangible as well. Yes, we do exist in an invisible universe, but air is invisible, but I can still feel it when I'm inhaling and exhaling, right? There still is concrete physical proof. So remember the law of correspondence when you listen to these people, as above, so below. Now, let's go into God. Okay. Now we're talking about God, right? So let's just read this. Old English God, supreme being, deity, the Christian God, image of a God, God-like person, right? Sounds like the things we've learned in church, right? Let's be honest. That's what it sounds like we've heard in church. But let's fast forward a little bit. Proto-Germanic, okay, Old Saxon, Dutch, okay. Now, Old Saxon is old, you know, old Western European, right? Old Frisian, old Western European, Dutch. The Dutch East India Company were the first people to transport African slaves, right? The first stock market is the Dutch stock market. First stock market in the world was created by the Dutch, and it was people that were shareholders of ships. And those ships did not have just goods, but they had human goods and human resources. And people were traded not just by the color of their skin, even though they were Africans, but they were also trading people, right? And primarily because, well, I don't want to get into the history of slavery, but if you look at the top coast, Mauritania, Algeria, Egypt, right? The top half of Africa, that's where a lot of the trading was going. So it wasn't just melanated people that were getting traded. In the early times, of course, it evolved to that, but it was people of a nation. So if you were a person from Crete and you happen to be dark skinned melanated like me, you could have been enslaved with someone that was Caucasian, that was dark, that or someone that look that was Caucasian, what you call Caucasian nowadays, right? Who was so-called pale skin. You would be with those persons. You could be with someone olive skin, the what they call the modern day Indian, right? A person from India, right? And so forth and so on. So it was more about your location. Of course, it evolved, as we know, to chattel slavery, which is what happened in America, the Caribbean, South America, and so forth and so on. But even in America, before what they call Bacon's Rebellion, there was where the natives were aligned with Bacon, right? And then Bacon actually flipped on them. But that's another story. But even then, right, it was about tribes, the Gula Geechee, the Ochaweechee, the Navajo, the Blackfoot, right, the Black Hawk, right, those different tribes that some of them still exist to this day. So they were not just people that were quote unquote people of color, as they say, right? But the Dutch. So when they talk about God, these are so remember, these are recent: Old Saxon, Old Frisian, Dutch, right? Old High German, these are more recent. Then we're going to a little older, where we're going into the Norse, right? Gothic, Good, right? Gup, right? Uncertain origin. They don't, of course, it's uncertain. Well, it came from us, right? But we're not talking about race here. I really just want to talk about spirituality. I'm using just these races as a way to explain how old this item is. So, Good, right? Now we're going back, right? We're going to the most recent and now the oldest. So when we talk about God, now we're going to where it's uncertain origin, but they're saying perhaps from pi, goot, right? G-U-G-H-U-T, goots, God, goot, goot. Remember, we come from a tonal language, right? If you hear the Africans now, they speak in click, click, clicking, and it's very tonal, the way that they speak, right? The way they express words. You have people like Antetokounmpo, right? You have people named Olajuwon, right? These different names that are very tonal, right? But they have meaning. So we're talking about God, that which is invoked. Looks like spirit possession to me. Okay, why didn't I learn about this in church? Why didn't they tell me that God is that which is invoked? Okay, source also of Old Church Slavonic. Okay, now remember we just talked about the Slavs, okay, being slaves. Also, the Slavs or the slaves, ironically, came from Ukraine. All right, so that Ukrainian region that they're fighting over, supposedly, that they're at war at, supposedly, well, not supposedly, they are, well, again, I don't want to get into that, but let's say that the war that they're having, that's where the Slavs came from, that area of Ukraine. All right. So it says Old Church Slavonic, to call. So to call, that means that there's words involved. That means that there's speaking involved. That means that there's chants involved. That means that there's mantra. So we have that which is invoked, and we have to call. We're going now into one of the oldest languages, which is Sanskrit. Okay. Also, it says God means to be invoked. Okay. An epithet of Indra from root gur, right? Gi, to call, invoke. The notion could be divine entity summoned to a sacrifice. Divine entity summoned to a sacrifice. So this could be that the divine entity that is summoned to a sacrifice is when you sacrifice certain things, you are giving praise to God. Now, we know people sacrificed people, such as the Aztecs, right? Sacrifice people in a way to appease God, but that was basically a misunderstanding of this principle of sacrifice. Not sacrificing people, but sacrificing the different parts of yourself, right? Sacrificing the negative aspects of yourself, sacrificing the low vibration aspects of yourself, sacrificing a bad diet, sacrificing gossip, sacrificing hate and jealousy, sacrificing envy, sacrificing fear, sacrificing worry, sacrificing anxiety, sacrificing depression, sacrificing drug abuse, sacrificing escapism through sex, party, right, drinking, etc., etc. These type of sacrifices are those that you make when you want to invoke God. Okay. So this is different than the whole God versus the devil talk and just praising God, right? If you're praising God, then you are invoking God, which means that you are one with God. All right. So this is a totally different understanding versus what we have been given. So when we talk about spirituality, right, and we're talking about God, there's scriptures that support you being God. Psalms 82:6. Do you not know that ye are God and you are the sons of God? Luke 17:20 and 21. The kingdom, do not look here, do not look there, but the kingdom of heaven is within you. You can look this up, Luke 17:20 and 21. In the Quran, Surah 2, 115. Wherever you turn is the face of God, right? Wherever you turn is the face of God. So these scriptures and these quote unquote holy books are all confirming what I just showed you in etymology, which is the history of language, which is that you are God. Now, the question in spirituality, if we're asking what the heck is really spiritual, because we understand that it can't be praising God, right? If God is to be invoked, and if God is to be one, and if God is to speak, right? If God is to chant, if God is to talk, right? Also, there's a scripture that says, in the beginning was John 1:1, 1 to 3, actually. John 1, 1 to 3. And I think it's actually verse 1. In the beginning was the word was with God, and the word became a God. Interesting. Now, people will say, now they tell you the word is Jesus in the Bible, but that can't be true because we just researched what God really is and where God resides. And we use scripture to back this up as well, right? So now that we have an understanding of what God is, now that we understand that it's not God versus the devil, it may be you versus the devil, we have to understand how we could invoke this, how we could bring this to us, how we could bring this energy of the divine to us. This is what spirituality is about, and this is what spirituality is for. Let's get into a little bit of the four pillars, what I've created called the four pillars of spirituality, and then we'll get into the 7 principles. You might want to write this down. You don't have to, but I think it'll help people kind of get a foundation of what they want to look for. So the first pillar of spirituality Spirituality, and these are all things that are developed through physics, right? Physics deals with time, space, and matter, right? We're dealing with physics here, not just mystical woo woo, out of, again, as above, so below. If we're talking about these metaphysical ideas, we have to be able to show them in a concrete reality because one day you guys will have all this mystical knowledge and you'll talk to someone that's an atheist, you'll talk to someone that's a scientist, you'll talk to people that have vast amount of knowledge, and you have to be able to prove how you're living, your lifestyle, and the things that you're talking about, or you're going to feel stupid, you're going to feel embarrassed, and you're going to take your ass back to the church and the mosque, right? Which is what a lot of people do, right? Or when another pandemic or situation hits, you're going to run, tuck your tail, go back to the church like a lot of people have done, or just disappear like a lot of people did during the pandemic, all right? You've seen them. I don't have to tell you who they are. And all of a sudden, now they're back in the mix, trying to teach, doing classes, X, Y, Z, right? But if you are using your discernment, using your third eye, and using your perception, and are established in these four principles that I'm going to give you, you'll be able to see people for who they are, and you'll be able to see the things that you need to develop within yourself. And I'll give you examples of each of these things. So let's get into it, right? So when we're talking, peace to Hollow Vegeta, peace to Jesus or Iron Don. Please hit that like button if you are here. Hit that subscribe button if you like what I'm talking about. We're just getting started though. All right. So spirituality is the development of insight. All right. So what is insight? Insight is the ability to perceive or have perception of things in the past, things in the present, and things in the future. The ability to perceive or the perception of things in the past, things in the present, and things in the future. So what's an example of that? What would we say is insight? Let's say, right? Let's use the example of insight having the study of history, right? Now, melanated people will say that they want to unite, right? We're going to defeat Whitey, right? We're going to have a revolution. We're going to nation build, right? These are the things that I've heard most of my life, right? These are the things that we need to do, right? People that look like me. This is the things that we need to do. Saving Black people, right? These are the things that we need to do. Now, if you have insight, what you do is you step back, right? You step back and you look and you analyze and you see what in the world has happened, right? This is how insight starts. This is how you're able to get perception. You look to the past, the present, and the future. So you look at the past, you realize that Marcus Garvey came and tried and died broke and poor with nobody to really love him and take care of him. You realize, and obviously his seeds were not rich or wealthy or well taken care of after. W.E.B. Du Bois, right? He tried by establishing what they call the talented tenth, which are the people that are still coming out of the Greek fraternities to this day, right? The quote unquote talented tenth, who are turning into what you call the Black Boule, which is another secret society of melanated men and women who are advisors to the king, so to speak. That's what Boule means, advisors to the king. So I don't see, and a lot of them are mayors, governors, the people that are in positions of power, right? Supreme Court judges. And these, you see, the community has not become more unified and more saved and out of poverty and healthier and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Melanated people in America and unfortunately worldwide are still as close to the bottom as can be, unfortunately. So we see the Panthers, they tried after so going fast forwarding, we see that Elijah Muhammad came with the NOI, right? We see Malcolm emerge from the NOI as a powerful figure, right? See what happened to him. He died. See Muhammad Ali. He tried the same thing, suffered for it, unfortunately caught the Parkinson's disease at the end of his life, right? But he tried. We see who else? Let's go. So Malcolm tried. The offspring of Malcolm X are the Black Panthers. The Black Panthers took the philosophy of Malcolm X and or the Organization of African American Organization of OAU, the Organization of African Unity, and then transported that information to that information after he died. The Black Panthers basically picked up the mantle and said, yo, we're going to start implementing his philosophies in real life. We see they tried, right? Now imagine this. Imagine you growing up as a young person, you were a Black Panther, you believed in the cause so much that you went, fought, defended it, right? Took up arms, right? Shot at a few officers, right? This is as a Black Panther, you did this because of your love for your people, love for people who look like you, your love for your community, right? And wanted to see the better. So out of this love, you went and did these things. Imagine you have been sitting in a cell since the 60s and you're still in that cell for Black people, melanated people, but you have a TV and you're able to see the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and the 2020s, and see overall what you fought for, what you're in jail for 100 years for, what you're doing life for, why you're a political prisoner. Did it work? Right? The free lunch program, the free breakfast program, and the free lunch program that the Panthers created was co-opted, right, by the powers that be. And the free lunch is not even good food. It's non-nutritious food. There's GMOs in it. Who knows what they put in the milk and the food, what type of scientific experiments they're running with the school lunches that are in the schools nowadays. So it's been co-opted, even that game. So when you study history, and we could continue going on and on to Colin Muhammad, to Farrakhan, right? And to whoever else is here to this day that says this is what they're going to do. Many of them are getting locked up. Many of them are being exposed as scammers. Many of them can't get donations. A lot of them recently, which I said in my last video, a couple of them recently got locked up, right? A couple been exposed to scammers, right? Some disappeared during the pandemic, right? And so forth and so on. So you trying to save a whole society of people, meaning that you have not done your investigation into the past to see what's worked and what hasn't worked. You definitely have not seen what's going on in the present day, that people are going to people, right? And you trying to save everyone, it's not going to work. And you having insight into history means that the future will depend on people saving themselves. People in the age of Aquarius, if you understand and you're in the present, right, and you're looking at the future, you understand that this is the age of the Aquarius. This is the age of the individual pouring into the collective. The age of Pisces was about groupthink. Really, it was about you having that Jesus figure to follow, or you having that messianic figure to follow, you having that prophet to follow. But now it's not about that. It's about what are you? What Aquarius? What are you going to pour out of your cup? What is the water that you are going to pour out? And then when it spills onto the ground, that is the collective. That is the universe. I had a brief conversation with somebody online. They were saying, I posted something. They was like, yeah, nation build. And I was like, nah, not nation build, family build. We need to get out of that idea of nation building. That's outdated, retarded, and in a spiritual, metaphysical, occult, and esoteric way of life, those things do not make sense. Family builds first, right? Once your family is good and your family has certain principles, then you can extend those principles to your offspring. Those offspring can extend them to others, right? And this is how you build a nation. Nations start with families first, not random strangers who don't have the same mindset, who are ready to stab you in the back and who are not really doing spiritual work. So that's an example of insight, all right? Next, we're going into, so that's the first pillar, of spirituality. The next pillar is intuition. Intuition is and these are four eyes, right? Insight is the first one. I explained insight, the ability to perceive things in the past, present, and future, right? Having insight means that you have to do study. You have to be studious. You can't have insight by just simply watching YouTube videos. A, 9 times out of 10, a lot of y'all don't take notes. B, y'all not going, if you do take notes, you're not going and cross-referencing the information, right? And C, if you do take notes and you are cross-referencing the information, you're going to see that there are some things that don't make sense and some things that are not accurate, right? And D, have you wrestled with these ideas and concepts in your own mind first before you came back and regurgitated them like a parrot? A lot of people are just parroting people for things that make no sense. We all have crazy, vivid dreams about different things. That doesn't mean that it is applicable in real life and that it was going to help you master yourself and help you reach your divinity and your divine calling. All right. So intuition is next. So intuition is the ability to gain knowledge about the past, present, and future. Intuition is knowledge. All right. And intuition is simply this, right? Gut feelings. You know, when you met your first girlfriend, right? Or your first boyfriend, I went out for ice cream, you know what I'm saying? And you're on the phone all night. You hang up. No, you hang up. No, you hang up. No, you hang up. Right. And you get around them, you know, or you think about them. And you might be in that phase now where you just met somebody, right? And you think about them and the sky, the sun is brighter, even if it's a cloudy day, the clouds look more vivid, you know, the rain is more peaceful. The nacho chips you eat taste better, right? The cheese on your cheeseburger is more cheesy, you know, all those things are happening, right? These are gut feelings, gut emotions, but also the same gut emotions when you're going, you know, let's say you had to speak in front of 1,000 people. You know, you may have butterflies, right? You feel those butterflies in your stomach. You feel those nerves in your stomach. When you are around or have the wrong partner, right? Or the wrong lover, or you're with your parents and your parents are doing certain things, right? And you have a gut feeling that this just ain't right. Even though they're a person in authority or they're a person that's supposed to lead, this just isn't right, right? Or they're a person that I love, this just isn't right. You have a gut feeling. You may not see anything. Now, some people have gut feelings that are wrong. You know, you'll have a gut feeling that Tyrone is cheating on you, right? And your gut feelings have to be confirmed. Your intuition has to be confirmed with fact, right? We all have ideas and again, and things that pop up, but your intuition, your gut feelings have to be confirmed with fact. For instance, you can have a gut feeling of nervousness before you go on stage, before you go to perform, right? But the fact is, if you go past that gut feeling, right, and you do perform, chances are you'll do great, right? Chances are, if you put in the proper preparation for a proud performance, you're going to do great. So your gut feeling has to be confirmed by real 3D tangible reality. We go from the unseen to the seen. When you're dealing with spirituality, you're dealing with going from the unseen, from the subconscious to the conscious. You're trying to make the subconscious mind conscious. That's one of the main aspects. So intuition is the key to that. And with this intuition, this gives you knowledge about what's going to come in the future. You'll get an idea, a download, what they call a spark of inspiration, right? And you get, you know, again, one of the examples I always talk about is prior to the corona hitting, where spirit told me before that New Year's and breakfast, start eating blueberries, start eating raspberries, you know, start getting your berries up, right? Now, these things, berries, blueberries, raspberries, things like that, bananas, right? The berries are antioxidant. You know what I'm saying? They are great for your immune system, right? Also eating bananas, that's natural electrolyte. So I would just eat this stuff in the mornings, right? People would laugh at me because they saw me just eating fruits in the morning for breakfast. But they weren't laughing so much when that corona hit, right? I looked like the genius. So that's insight, right? I didn't, this just, it came to me. I didn't, it just came to me. It was a gut, you know what I'm saying? It won't. But the more you listen, the more you will get the right ideas, the more you will get the right downloads, and trust in yourself. Ask yourself, right? Insight is also about insight, seeing within. So ask yourself questions, tell yourself things, question yourself, and then listen, and then listen. And once you start to do that, and the more you do that in repetition, the more you will gain insight and the more insight will be given to you. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people just got a head full of other people's business, whether it's on the internet, whether it's through gossip, whether it's through sports, whether it's through what some other teacher told them. It's just a head full of other people's business and not their own, right? You don't want to be those type of people. That's how you block your insight, because you are not looking within for your sight. So that's the second pillar. Third pillar, imagination. So imagination is the ability to create images, right, that affect the past, present, and future. Okay. It's the imagination is the ability to create images that affect the past, present, and future. All right. This is a very simple concept, right? Using your imagination. It's one of the first things that you were able to use when you were a conscious child, if you think about it. Even when you were a little kid, right? And you're sitting on top of your high chair, right? And your mama gives you your bowl of Gerber or whatever she gave you, applesauce or whatever. And you got the spoon, right? You got the spoon and you got the spoon and you got the fork or whatever, and saying you stirring up, you cooking, you might play the drums and you might think you have a whole drum set right there, right? You might turn the spoon into an airplane and you move around, right? It's one of the first things you have as a child, your imagination. And it's one of the pillars of spirituality, because without imagination, you really have nothing. Einstein, actually, let me pull up this quote. I don't want to misquote the guy. Einstein, it said, imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. So imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. So Einstein, one of the great scientists of our modern era, truly believed in imagination. He trusted in imagination. And because he trusted in his imagination and his gut instincts and his insight, right, just going over the last two, we discovered he was able to come up with the concept of EM squared, right, which was E equals MC squared, which was the theory of relativity. Won't go into that, but you can look up the theory of relativity for yourself to understand it. But because he trusted in his imagination, he was able to break the mold. Same thing with Copernicus, who discovered that the Earth was basically not the. I think his discovery was the Earth went around. The Earth was circling around the sun, not the sun was circling around the Earth, right? But all these scientific discoveries back in the day, right, that when they were trying to rediscover things that our ancestors, our melanated ancestors, the people from Kemet, the people from the Dogon tribe, right, the people in Nubia already knew, already had written on the walls, already had charted. If you look at the Temple of Dendera, you will see, actually, let's do a little, y'all that follow me. And yo, if you're here, hit that like button if this is hitting and making sense. But let's look at the Temple of Dendera, because again, I want to show you, not just tell you, that we already had this on lock. And we already knew this stuff. Where is it? I don't know why they don't have the whole thing, but let's see. Let me look a little further. I want to spend forever on this. Okay, here we go. Boom. Damn, they even hiding this shit. So this is on so the Temple of Nadera. This is a temple in Kemet. Um, these are visuals of the star system, but I want to show y'all this particular thing because this is on the roof, and this is basically detailing the zodiac and the cosmos. This is not the best picture. There's a better picture of this, but you can look this up on your own, right? And so whenever the Western European that migrated to America, or the European that was in Europe and discovered certain things, these are things that were already known. They were just remembering or remembering, right? Or bringing back into uh, into popular culture what was already known, right? So I just want to show you this. I just want to show you that. So imagination, right? It affects the past, present, and future. This computer that I'm using, somebody imagined it. The app Zoom, somebody imagined it. This nice ass blue shirt that I got on, this nice blue Western shirt I got on, somebody imagined it. Somebody designed it, right? These headphones, somebody designed it, right? This ring, somebody designed it. This ring, somebody designed it. This watch, this bracelet, somebody designed it. Imagination, right? People use their imagination every day, but people's imagination also gets hijacked via the images they take in, right? So all these have positive and negatives, right? The insights you get could be insights that you were fed via media, via family members, via school, right? Via just your environment, via the people that are in your culture, right? And culture just means something that cultivates or something that nurtures. So the people that are in your culture, the things in your culture that are negative that you take on and believe that they are yours, for instance, being ghetto, being hood, right? That's things in our culture that we're taught to be proud of, right? But nobody else is proud of poverty in any other culture but us, right? So this infects your insight, your intuition, your gut feelings also get affected via what you eat, via your digestion. The more food that is toxic, right, that is heavy in your body, y'all don't always talk about health. I know y'all don't like this part, but that's okay. I'm going to talk about it till it's over, baby. Till they Kevin Samuels me, right? I'm going to talk about health because as you see, even with Kevin, him talking about being high value, having six figures and having women submit and all this crap, right? He was drinking a Red Bull a night, right? He was drinking a Red Bull a night. Kevin worked hard, right? Did several shows, at least 6 days a week. Matter of fact, I think he did shows 7 days a week. I feel like I saw him every time I logged on to either YouTube, Instagram, or Instagram. He was always on doing something, right? Always going live with a Red Bull. You know, not to mention he started doing interviews, more Red Bulls. So after a while, this took a this took a toll on him. You know what I'm saying? So your gut, right? Your gut feelings. These things affect not only, yeah, it did affect the heart. Remember, the heart, these things go to the gut first, right? Then it hits the heart, right? Your food goes through your gut, your digestive system first, then it hits the heart. So the gut is your fuel, your spirit is your fuel for your spirit. We'll get into that soon. There's fuel for your spirit, right? Which also hits the heart, which causes your heartbeat or how your heart's going to beat. And then it goes to the brain, right? And your brain secretes chemicals, neurochemicals, which go through your body, through your thalamus and hypothalamus, right? And these things start to go recycle back into the body, right? But it all starts really with your gut. If a bus just comes at me right now, right? My gut is going to tense up. My stomach is going to tense up. My body is going to tense up, right? The blood is going to leave from my brain and go to my arm and my feet, right? I'm going to be put into a fight or flight, right? So your gut and your gut health and gut bacteria, taking things such as probiotics, right? These things help because you want to keep your gut as healthy as possible because you want more blood flowing to your brain rather than flowing through your gut because your body has to fight off the toxins from all this junk and bull crap that you're eating. So it's very important that your health is prioritized. especially on this particular spiritual walk. And if you want to have a strong intuitive ability, some people are born with it, right? They don't have to eat, they could eat whatever they want. It's already something they were born with, but not everybody is like that. So if you really want to do that, as the God, the goddess Alice Coltrane told me to tell y'all, stay light. You know what I'm saying? Stay light. And the last but not least of the foundation is inspiration. Now, inspiration is the ability to produce energy in the now. It's the only part that doesn't deal with the past, present, and future. Right? Imagination, you could think about the future all day. Imagination, you could think about the past. Imagination, you could think about now. Same thing with intuition. Same thing with insight. Right? But inspiration is right now. Inspiration is the power of now. All right. And this is energy. Inspiration has to do with energy. When you're inspired, you feel like you could do anything. When I hear Les Brown, right? When I hear young Les Brown going off, you know what I'm saying? And watching him doing his motivational speeches. When I listen to Eric Thomas, right? When I listen to Tony Robbins, right? When I listen to Ron Nefer Men, when I listen to who else? Who's a modern day person that inspires, right? When I listen to anybody that's just a inspirational type of motivational type of person, right? It inspires you to get up, and there's certain things I hear just on YouTube from random speakers, right? That inspires you to become better, that inspires you to do better, that inspires you to do more things. So so inspiration could come via music, right? Certain music inspires you. I know when I was committing crimes as a youth, I was very inspired by Notorious Big, doing robberies and stuff like that. I ain't gonna lie to you. That's what I was on when I was a youngster. You know what I'm saying? And I was inspired via the music that I was listening to when I was selling dope. Raekwon and Ghostface, they inspired me. When I saw that Criminality video, and I saw Ray and Ghostface with that helicopter and the Versace robes, bro, you couldn't tell me I wasn't gonna sell no drugs. You could not tell me I was not gonna sell no drugs and get the baddest women in the Bronx. Facts. That's what I was inspired, right? So it could become via music, it could come via sex. There's sex magic, tantra. Won't go into that deep, but sex can inspire you. We all know sex has moved people to do things that they would never do in their life. The quote unquote penis, right? A good quote unquote vagina has inspired people to do things that they would never do in their life, right? Look at Rob Kardashian when she was with Black China, even though she wasn't right for him and she was obviously using him, right? She still was inspiring him. She said he was at his, he himself said, Rob Kardashian himself said he was at a low point and he was inspired via Black China. So, and Black China made him start working out, made him start eating better, right? Now she was putting it on him. She was putting that stripper vagina on him, right? You know what I'm saying? Anybody who's been with women that engage in those dark arts, those dark arts of sexual tantra and sexual alchemy for the purposes of vamping your energy and getting you for what you got, right? You or just is skilled in the art of sex, right? You know that they could get things out of you that normally you wouldn't provide someone else, right? You could even think you're falling in love with a person when you're not even falling in love with that person. You're just in love with what they've done to you physically and sexually, right? So it's inspirational. Tonality. If I say the Lord is coming, and when Jesus comes to save you, and he's riding on a chariot and he's taking you to Jericho, right? That's a form of inspiration. This is how the church gets you, right? This is how these certain speakers get you, right? Somebody who, like Dr. Umar, for instance, allegedly, who says things 3 times, donations, brothers and sisters, for the school. I said, donations, brothers and sisters, for the school. I said, donations, brothers and sisters, for the school, right? He's trying to inspire you to give up that cash app, get that cash app, get that donations, right? Send in that donation. He's trying to inspire you, right? He's using tone, though, laughter is, of course, inspirational. You know what I'm saying? How there's people that are funny that, I know for myself, I've met people that were funny when I was young that didn't deserve for me to be with them or sleep with them, but they were Like they kept me laughing. I enjoyed their company. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they weren't even the prettiest. Maybe they weren't quote unquote my type, but they were funny. So because they were funny, they influenced me to be with them. They inspired me to be with them. They inspired me to spend time with them. So that's a form of inspiration. Okay. Now, and we have and we have color as well, right? So colors like this in the background, right? If you are into the Orishas or if you are into um comedic myth, right? You're working with saints, the Loa, things like that. You notice that they all have colors, right? Yemaya has a distinct blue, right? It's totally different than Oshun or Heru with their green and gold, right? Which is totally different than Heru, Horus, or Shango with his crimson red, which is totally different than Tahuti with his color blue, right? Or you would call Chokma on the in the Kabbalah, right? So all these different deities have color. We also know that, well, we may not know. So let's show and prove, shall we? There's also something. Oh, I actually have this on my own. Let me pull this up. There's also something called color psychology in marketing. And look what it says, right? Since we're talking about magic and conjure and spirituality, right? And these four pillars of insight, intuition, imagination, and inspiration, right? Colors is a form of inspiration. It inspires you to do things, right? It gives you energy to do things. It gives you energy to create, right? So look what it says, the best hex chart. I ain't making this up. I just pulled this up off the internet, okay? I didn't write this. The best hex chart, right? So you are being hexed when you are looking at McDonald's and you see that red and yellow, right? Which directly ties into your solar plexus and your root chakra and inspires hunger based on that combination, right? And they go into secondary colors, primary colors, tones of colors, right? Color wheel, how different things make you feel, right? And so forth and so on. This is something you can check out on your own for time. I'm not going to go into it, but there are certain colors. For instance, if you are doing let's say you're running a health business, right? If you're running a health business, you want to deal with the color green, right? Because green represents flowers, it represents nature, it represents health, overall health, right? It's a color that all you have to do is look at the color and it inspires you to think forest, to think healthy food, to think healthy living, right? Just off the color alone, right? When you're looking at a color such as purple, right? It denotes royalty. It denotes kingliness, nobility, right? It denotes that you are a person of stature. It denotes that you know what you're talking about, right? It's tied to the crown chakra, right? So green is tied to the heart chakra, right? So each of these colors mean different thing. Red, right? Well, a lot of your action buttons are red, buttons that you push to do things. If you go to a lot of like your Gap website or your Target website, these different stores, you'll notice that the buttons to buy or the buttons to purchase are usually colored red because red is an action color. It ties to your survival instinct. It ties to your root chakra. It ties to your safety instinct, right? So again, these colors and this color psychology, right, is another way that you are inspired positively or negatively. Positively, again, giving an example of the deities, negatively for the example of, using it in marketing, which is what this is about, right? Marketing. And again, like it says, the best hex chart. So they cast spells on you every single day, whether you believe in magic, the occult, esoteric spirituality or not. Let me take a little drink, hit that like button or hit that subscribe button while you do too, while I do. And don't hesitate to hit that donation. Appreciate you, Dorka. What's up, Philip Boone? All right. So let's go into, let's stop sharing that. All right. So those are the four pillars. All right. Insight, intuition, imagination, inspiration. These are the things that will allow you to have the basic foundation of spirituality. Now, when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at a pyramid. You have the pyramid bottom, which is this foundation, right? And then now we're going into the part of the triangle. Don't call me Illuminati because I'm doing this, right? I'm just showing you the triangle part of the pyramid, right? Let me scare y'all. Maybe I'll get more likes if I do this, more subs, right? Because y'all like scary shit. So now that that's established. So now let's go into the seven principles because we have the foundation now. So when you are talking about spirituality, right? Nurturing spirituality is the same as growing a plant. Nurturing spirituality is the same as growing a plant. You need two things. You need light, which is information, and you need water, which is emotions or your flow state, right? So plants grow, as we all know, through light and through, wait, hold on. Felt weird. All right, plants grow through light and through water, right? And we also know that you could talk to a plant, right? Hopefully, you know that you could talk to a plant. Um, and if you talk to plants, plants will respond. Plants will grow. Plants will even. The secret of plants is if you speak to plants, plants will also provide you information. They'll provide you knowledge. They're not going to be in the way that you think. They'll be in the way of downloads, right? Especially if you are, touching the actual tree itself, things like that. You'll be able to get downloads. So you can ask the plant questions. Remember, these plants and a lot of these roots, these trees have been here for centuries. Some of them have been here for hundreds of years, even. So way before you were existed, your mama and your grandpa existed, right? Or some of the roots and the seeds of these plants have been here for thousands upon thousands of years, right? So when we talk about plants, though, we're talking about the human that is growing on the tree of life, right? We're talking about the human that is growing on the tree of life. One of the trees of life is the Hebrew Kabbalah, is also a Kemetic tree of life, right? For time's sake, I'm not going to go into that, but I'm going to talk about how you're watering yourself, right? So watering yourself is getting information in the form of insight, information in the form of training your intuition, which we discussed, information in the form of nurturing your imagination, which we discussed, and information in the form of inspiration, right? Inspiration also sounds a lot like respiration, right? Inspiration, respiration. We'll get into that shortly. But you need light, right? You need information. You need to be around people that are thinking along the lines that you are. You need to surround yourself, and most importantly, your home, where you live. Hopefully, you're living by yourself or you have space with you and your kids. Your home needs to reflect this particular juju. This image that I have behind here, the Sri Yantra, right? This is a sacred symbol, sacred geometry, right? This is an image that is representing divinity, it's representing balance, and this is what I want to bring forth during this particular lecture. So this is why I have this on my background and why I use different things as backgrounds to convey different messages. So when we're talking about spirituality, you have to have juju, what I call juju, in your home. You have to, the same way your mama had Jesus, right, and the cross everywhere and things like that. You want to have things around that symbolize what you're going to become, what you're trying to achieve, where you're trying to go. You want to have signs and symbols around you. In your bathroom, you might have an ankh, or you might have a plant, right? Spider vines are great for the bathroom for abundance. You might, in your bedroom, you might have different statuettes or symbols or pictures or just things that remind you of your divinity. This is how ancient Kemet was, right? If you watch the movie Agora, Agora, Matter of fact, let me show you. You watch the movie Agora. I don't think it's free, but I think you can watch it on YouTube. Or you can watch it on YouTube actually, but it's very it's very so in this, I don't know if they're gonna break it down, show any of the pictures, but they do a good job in the first half of kind of showing you what ancient society looked at like. And they have all these obelisks, what you call tekens, or you would call the Washington Monument that look like the Washington Monument. They call them obelisks, they're really tekens. And Agora is basically about Christianity, and it's about how violent Christianity was and the violence that Christianity took to take over the world, right? So, and how they burnt down certain libraries, certain books, right? Very good movie, right? If you want to learn about ancient religion and how religion really comes into play. Very, very good movie. And how the circus was really about them sacrificing Christians, right? So the Christians said we had enough and they fought and weaponized Jesus, right? But that's another story for another day. But in this movie, the main part is in the beginning, you will see how ancient society looked. And when they're walking around, this is one of the images, right? But they show how everything that they looked at and everything that they saw was a representation of their divinity, their inner divinity, right? Is a representation of their highest self, the most high that is within them. Because we've already established that God, right, is to be invoked. We've already established that, right? We've already established that God, for somebody who's new, real quick, that God is to call or invoke, that God is to be invoked, that God is that which is invoked, right? So we're not talking about anything outside of ourselves anymore. We've already demystified that. So when you're talking about spirituality, you're talking about watering yourself with light. What type of things are you listening to? Who are you listening to? What light are they giving you? And more importantly, are you judging them by what they look like? For instance, I know if I had on, all white, a turban, how these scammers be doing, putting the eye of Ra, they paint that shit on their eye, tattoo that shit on their eye, right? To me, that's like the scammer ID. Once I see that eye tattooed, I'm like, oh shit, scam is coming, right? And I also don't trust people who wear spiritual garb, right? Wearing them long white robes and shit and the fancy hats and the million fucking crystals. I'd be like, all right, what's beneath the surface of that? Insight, right? I'm looking for the insight of the thing, not the outside, not what I could see. Well, I'm looking at the inside. That's why it's a foundation, right? And then I'm trusting my intuition, right? Then my imagination, is this guy really who he says he is, right? Right? And he may be inspiring. He may say some things that inspires me. All right, I'll take that and I'll leave the rest, right? But I really be looking at, like, when I see people dress a certain way, I'm like, do you go to Met Food like that? Are you driving to the Piggly Wiggly wearing that? You go to the party, to the club looking like that, right? What are you doing in real life? It's very easy to look a certain way, right? And project a certain image. But the image is not always what it truly is. So you got to be careful with what you see on the surface. People could tell you anything on the internet. They're from planet this. They're the third generation of the Egyptian pharaoh. They are living in the fairy kingdom, whatever, right? I don't care about none of that. It sounds cool. It sounds great. But I'm really a practical occultist, as I always tell y'all. I'm really a practical metaphysician. What is going to make you a better person to take care of you and your family and lead to self-mastery? My goal is for you to be the magic, right? There's plenty of spells out there. Go on Pinterest, get you a book. There's plenty of books you could get. Look, if you really want to, I'm going to show in the process for y'all. I promise you. I have this book right here, but I just don't want to get up and get it. You could get this book. You want to learn, you want to know spells? You want an index of some spells that work? Get this. Or go on Pinterest and type in whatever spell you need if you don't have money, but you could get this book as well. And I've used some of these spells. 365 days of hoodoo. Daily root work, mojo, and conjuration. Now, I wouldn't recommend you doing each one of these spells for 365 days because it's not really practical, right? But you'll learn and you will understand and you'll have a reference book of whatever spell work you want to do, right? Easy book, right? So I'm saving you some legwork, saving you some time, saving you some YouTube videos. If that's really what you want, there it goes. But this will not allow you to get over your childhood trauma. This will not allow you to have a better relationship with your children. This will not allow you to have a job or career that you're comfortable in. This will not allow you to develop the skills that you need in order to make money. This will not allow you to become as clairvoyant as you could be, as clairsentient as you could be, as clairaudient, clairvoyant, the ability to see psychically, clairaudient, the ability to hear psychically, clairsentient, the ability to touch and feel people's energy psychically, and the other clairs, such as there's one for smell, right? There's one for taste as well. I forgot the name of them. But this is when you become the magic, all right? This is my goal, to get you up the tree of life. And I'm going to start the membership. I'm going to have a membership after I get over, after we have this, anyway, I'm going to start a membership soon, very, very soon. And we're going to go in those member classes, we're going to go up the tree of life with every single aspect. This is a foundational class, a foundational lecture, but we're going to go up the tree and you'll see more of what I'm talking about, right? But this is just a kind of conceptual class, right? But learning these smells, right? Taking the wing off a bat, the leg of a chicken, and the eye of a crow, and putting them together, right? Those things are becoming outdated because we're in the age of Aquarius, and really spirituality is on Wi-Fi. Thoughts become things and words become worlds. That's the age that we're in. But not to say those things don't still work, because they do. But it's really more about you coming, especially when we having this solar eclipse that was in Taurus with the sun in Taurus. It's really about you developing your heart space and bringing it to that childhood joy, to where you were using your imagination, right? To where you were happy simply creating, where you were happy simply being, where, you know, if you see a little kid and you're like, go to the fridge, that little kid's going to run to the fridge for no reason, right? Now, my ass, I ain't running nowhere unless I'm on a unless I'm on a treadmill, right? I ain't running nowhere. You know what I'm saying? But a little kid, he's gonna run to this fridge just because, you know. That's joy, that's energy, right? That's vibrance. We're trying to get to that childlike state. That is Christ consciousness in its essence, right? So spend a while on that. But light is information, right? And we're dealing with light. Then we're dealing with water, right? So water, what is water? Water, as I always tell y'all, if y'all look and see water in a movie, film, anything like that, they are tagged to tap into your emotions. They're trying to relax you and make you see that this scene is important, right? Water is used in film for that very reason, because it taps directly into the spirit. The earth is made of 70% water. Your body is made up of over 70% water, as well as the earth, right? They say 90% plus, 90+% of the oceans here on the planet are undiscovered, meaning that they don't know what the hell is at the bottom because they're so deep, right? It's the same thing as you. You are so deep, you don't even know what's at the bottom of you, right? But I'm here to be your guide to your inner universe. Ashe. So, emotions are flow state, right? So those of us who watch sports, we understand that there's, or, you know, not even sports, but let's use sports as an example. When you see somebody that's just, you know, basketball, when they just can't miss, you know, you're shooting and you're like, this guy's on fire, you know, He can't miss. He can't miss. That's a flow state where you're just in a flow, right? You can't stop can't stop hitting baskets. Whatever move you make is butter, right? You're just in a zone. That's a flow state, right? But that also has to deal with your emotional state as well, right? You could be writing, let's say you're writing a paper, right, for school or college, right? And the words that you type and the words are just coming to you. You know what I'm saying? You don't know where they're coming or how they're coming, but you're just inspired. They're just coming to you, right? That's a flow state. This is the water. So you have information, things that you study, things that you learn, right? How you are have your life set up, how you have the things that you do set up and surround you, and then you have your water, which is your emotions and your flow state. Now, your emotions are your emotions reflect your spirit. So if you are angry and upset, you have a negative spirit, right? If you're always angry, always upset, always critical, cynical, you have a negative spirit. If that's what you carry on during your day to day, for the most part, you have a negative spirit. I don't care what you tell me. I don't care how many crystals, jewels, what you have in your home, uh, you know, what you wear, how fly your sandals are, how many fucking xenon bulbs you got from Uncle Hanky. Shout out to Hank Rogers. So you still have to, you still have to have a certain spirit about you, right? Your behavior matters. Your body language matters. These things matter. So this is the emotions will reflect the spirit that you have. Even if you're joyful, you're happy, right? You're feeling good, right? There's a spirit about you, right? There's a spirit about you that's magnetic. Misery loves company. So there's people that are attracted to the cynical, the negative, the life is bad. Those type of people, they're attracted to that, the drama, right? There's people that are attracted to that. Majority of people, because they're operating on that low frequency, right? People operating on a higher frequency, they like happy people. They like joy. They might be into comedy. They might be into laughter, right? They might be into art, right? Things that keep them in a space of inspiration, right? So your emotions are tied into your spirit. So that's the water that is flowing through you that creates your flow state. So you have to be honest and ask yourself, how do you flow on a day-to-day basis? If you are depressed, right? You have to have a flow state of gratitude. The flow state of gratitude, if you keep putting yourself in that state, eventually you'll get up out that bed and stop being depressed. If you have the flow state of, I'm going to do better, or I want to change, or I want to transform some things and I need to put in the work. Because a lot of times you're depressed and you're depressed because you're not working and you are stuck because you don't want to take that step, or you haven't taken that step, so you're stuck. But also some things happen in life. Sometimes it's not just that. Things happen, events happen, occasions happen, right? Life, who knows what's going to happen from here on out. You know what I'm saying? God forbid, I ain't gonna speak over nothing over myself, but anything can happen, right? So you could be depressed because of those things, but that's the great Donnie McClurkin said, we down, but we get up, right? You got to get back up. You got to keep fighting, so you got to look for your inspiration. A lot of times it's in your creation, activity, right? And putting yourself in the flow state where you're moving, right? It's hard to be depressed when you're moving. It's hard to be depressed when you're creating. It's hard to be depressed when you have a purpose. It's hard to be depressed when you have goals to meet, right? Very hard. Even if people be depressed, but they still be going to work, right? They still go to work. So even through that, you still know that you have to pay your bills. You still know you want your phone and your lights to be on, your car to be paid for, right? And the gas to be in it, and mortgage to be paid, and so forth and so on. So uh the first principle is knowing that you are just like a plant. And even if we look, let's go even deeper, right? To chlorophyll being similar in nature to the U melanin in your body, meaning that light from the sun to the plant converts into energy, food, and nutrients for the plant. So when the sun hits the plant, the chlorophyll actually manufactures and turns that light into food and energy. It does the same for you, right? And it's not just melanated people, but you have the preponderance, meaning that you have more melanin than people of other cultures, right, are able to take advantage of this much easier than someone who is from another culture, right? So melanin have the same correspondence to plant life. This is why it's important to go out in nature, especially if you're seeking answers for certain things or certain questions that you have. Nature is one of the best things you could do. A walk through nature, some silence, man, some 40 hertz or some silence, and just thinking and pondering. You'll be surprised at things that come to you, because nature, I believe, is here to heal us. You know, so I believe the main purpose of trees and the water and and nature, being that these trees and plants have been here for thousands of years, is here strictly to serve humanity, quote unquote, and ascend humanity into the state of godhood, right? That's which is the ultimate goal, to be a God here on earth, to reflect the light of God here on earth, the light of the divine, the light of the universe, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to say about it, you know, Elohim, whatever, to reflect that light in a human, to be one with God, and so humans to see God in you, right? And it takes work. It's not just you being born and all of a sudden, because you're a certain color, you're God. Nah, that doesn't work, because if I'm a crackhead, how am I going to say that I'm a God at the same time? Now you have God potential because you still have the spirit of God in you, right? But have you invoked that? Have you invoked that, as we saw earlier, right? So number two in the principles is that spirituality is the accepted and nurtured responsibility of our conscious and unconscious emotions and knowledge, right? So spirituality is the accepted and nurtured responsibility, key word, of our conscious and unconscious emotions and knowledge, all right? And this has nothing to do with words. So our conscious and unconscious emotions, we are responsible for, okay? If we are a person that is angry, if we're a person that is mad all the time, if we're a person that's upset all the time, we're responsible for that. If you are a person that thinks all women are trash, if you're a person that thinks all men are trash, you're responsible for that feeling. If you're a person that says, I get hurt all the time, you're responsible for that. If you're the person that says, everything seems to always go wrong, you're responsible for that. If you're a person that says, oh, life is great, you're responsible for that. If you're a person that says, good things always happen to me, you're responsible for that. If you're a person that sees the glass half full instead of half empty, you're responsible for that. Okay? You're responsible for your conscious and unconscious emotions. Your unconscious meaning that even when you're not speaking, even when you are not in even when you are not in verbal communication, how you talk to yourself, you're responsible for that as well. You're responsible for editing what you need to edit out of your thoughts and changing what you need to change out of your subconscious mind. And a lot of times it just comes to you, how you are watering and light you give to yourself, right? So how you nurture your chi, how you nurture your ra, how you nurture your prana, right? And also the four eyes, which is the foundation, your insight, intuition, inspiration, and imagination. How you nurture these things, right? This has nothing necessarily to do with books or words, right? You're responsible for how you feel on a day-to-day basis. There's times that I wake up, I'm on the wrong side of the bed. You know what I'm saying? We all have those times where we wake up where we're on the wrong side of the bed. But how you nurture this part of you and what you do with this particular energy is what matters and what counts. So you have to ask yourself, what are you really way? You got to set responsibility for it. You can't blame the white man. You can't blame the black man. You can't blame your mama. You can't blame your daddy. You can't blame your cousin. You can't blame your uncle. You're responsible to use the tools that are at your disposal, one of them being the internet and the Kempata, aka computer, the Kempata, the computer. You have this in the palm of your hand. A lot of us grew up without this in the palm of our hands, so we know the difference between having a computer and not having a computer. And the fact that people are still out here being gamed up, being manipulated, being lied to, being told silly things that have no bearing on their day-to-day life, no bearing on fixing their families or making themselves better for their families, no better on making themselves better fathers and better mothers, better healers, better learners, better at being intuitive, better at getting insight, better at developing psychic abilities, better at developing a magic aura, an electromagnetic field that when they walk, they are the magic. And then luck will become a byproduct of that. They're talking about flat earth for 4 hours. They're talking about galaxies that have never been heard of that don't really exist. They're talking about Sirius X, right? So this has nothing to do with words. This is you being responsible for the emotions that you carry on a day-to-day basis. So it ties into your light and your flow state, right? So this is your unconscious and subconscious and the knowledge that you take in via the eyes, the inspiration you take in, the insight you take in, the intuitive nature via the food and your gut feelings. And lastly, your imagination, the things you view, right? What you put into your imagination, what images that you carry throughout the day. Number 3, spirit in etymology, right? Let's look at this. I've talked about this before, but we may have some new people. Hit the like button, as I said, also, or you think this will help somebody else. And I like to show and prove, so let's do this. Yeah, see, I have nothing really queued up. Okay, so spirit, right? We're talking about spirituality. And we're going to go into this. So spirit in etymology, it means to breathe. It means breath or to breathe, right? So let's prove this. Spirit, animating or vital principle in man or animals, right? Directly from Latin spiritus, a breathing, respiration, and of the wind. Respiration and of the wind. So that means when I'm breathing, I am in the spirit. I spoke of inspiration earlier, or in spirit action as inspiration. Now it says respiration or respiration and of the wind is tied into spirit. Okay, I might be onto something. Rob may be saying something. Inspiration, breath of life. Breathing again. Okay. Disposition, character, high spirit. All right. That's pride, arrogance, blah, blah, blah. Related to spire, to breathe. All right. I'm not making this up, people. You can look this up yourself. All right. To blow. Pause. Pause on that. All right. To play on the pistol, to play on the flute. All right. Possibly onomatopoeic. I think I know what that means, but we ain't looking it up. Onomatopoeic formation, if you know what that means, put it in the chat, because I have no idea. Possibly an onomatopoeic formation imitating the sound of breathing, okay? Now, you see, as they go further, they're talking about ghosts and, central principle of something. So the central principle of you is breathing, right? So we've proven what spirit is. Spirit means to breathe. So when you are out with that lucky guy and that lucky girl, and you're saying, oh, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. You could tell them, well, I'm breathing too, ain't I? Uh, the wicked is spiritual too, obviously, right? The evil is spiritual too, right? Because it just means to breathe. It just means the wind, right? And the one thing for sure, two things for certain, everything that's permeating everything here on Earth, even if you talk about the cosmos, they have something out in the cosmos called solar wind, right? I'm not going to pull that up. You can look that up for yourself. Solar, and y'all believe half of anything everybody tells you anyway. So I don't need, no disrespect, but I see what's going on in these streets. So yeah, solar wind is out there, and there's regular wind, So when we talking about spirit, somebody tried to tell me yesterday wind and air is different. That's who, yeah, that's crazy. Whoever said that, you should smack him with a, nah, don't smack him, but verbally smack him with the stupid face. And um, so yeah, so spirit is unseen, right? It says unseen as oxygen and carbon dioxide, right? You can't see oxygen. You can't see carbon dioxide, right? Well, two things that are essential for us to breathe here on Earth, right? But they're gases. They're part of matter, right? Solid, liquid, and gases, part of matter. Um, and the gas, right, is it's universal. And even when you go higher in solid, liquids, and gases, right? Solids being the lowest vibration, liquid being the medium vibration, and then you got gas, which is the highest vibration, higher vibration, which you can't see, and then even higher, the fourth state of matter, which is plasma, which is unseen again, right? Plasma is the highest vibrating state of matter that you really, really can't sleep. That's when you get into the high. This is kind of what I would say is when you are when a plasma, when you are able to perceive plasma, would be when you are on a psychedelic, like a mushroom, right? And you're doing meditation and you're doing spiritual work on that psychedelic, not just using it for entertainment and fun, which you can, but it's a sacrament for a reason, right? Even marijuana, you can use it for fun. Not to say you can't, but it's also a sacrament for a reason. So you can use it for spiritual work, right? It's a herb that comes from the ground. And when you're specifically taking mushrooms and the psilocybin, you are able to see. And if you're doing, I don't want to say you always have to take mushrooms. When you're doing deep meditation, when you get to the stage of meditation where you're able to see these things without mushrooms, right? I've been doing this for quite some time, so I can get to these different states without mushrooms. But I've also done mushrooms and been at the same place, right? In my conscious awareness, right? So this is kind of when you're seeing plasma, so to speak. But anyway, spirit is unseen, right? It's as unseen as carbon dioxide and gases, all right? So when we talk about spirit, we're talking about breathing. So how are we breathing during these different states, right? What is the way to breathe in order to invoke God? Because as we said and we showed you, God is to be invoked, right? God is not something outside to praise. It's supposed to become part of you. These are things the church, the mosque, the preacher, the priest, the pastor ain't telling us in the Bible, right? Even though it says in the Bible, the kingdom of God is within you. Don't look here or there. Even though Psalms 82:6 says that, do you not know that ye are gods and sons of the Most High? Even though the Quran says, whenever your face is turned, you are looking, wherever your face is turned, you are looking through the face of God, right? So that is three, right? Spirit means breath. It means to breathe. It means wind. Now, four, spirit is controlled via breath work. Now we're getting to the understanding of what spirituality really is. Spirituality is controlled via how you breathe, right? I haven't heard anyone talk about this on the internet. Spirituality is how you breathe, the essence of your breathing. It has nothing to do with your books. It has nothing to do with these nice crystals, amethyst, moldavite, right? Very, very good crystals for psychic attunement, by the way. Again, amethyst, crown chakra shit, moldavite, heart chakra. Moldavite is one of those crystals, and you have to be careful when you get moldavite. Don't get moldavite on the internet if possible. If you do get moldavite on the internet, because I got this on the internet, so I can't even say nothing. But if you are going to get on the internet, make sure it has reviews so you can see. Because moldavite is one of those crystals that when you touch it or when you put it on, it's undeniable. When I put this on, and this is a small piece, but I had a bigger piece that I lost. But if you put this on, there's no way you don't know that this crystal is powerful. It's unlike any other crystal that I've ever touched, right? And I'm very sensitive to touch, right? But when we're talking about spirit, it has nothing to do with your crystals, it has nothing to do with your fancy clothes, it has nothing to do with your spiritual t-shirts, it has nothing to do with your fancy head wraps, or it has nothing to do with your Solomon seals. It has nothing to do with your amulets. It has nothing to do with your altar. It has nothing to do with your spirit bath. It has nothing to do with what else? What else do people use as out? How many books you read? How knowledgeable you are? How articulate you are? Your spirit is tied to your breath. Now we're getting to where you are invoking God or invoking godly power, right? Now we're getting somewhere, okay? Number 4. So we're on number 4. Spirit is controlled via breath. For example, a negative spirit, we talked about this briefly, right? Remember, inspiration, respiration, right? Same spiral, spirit. And we're talking about spiral. We're also talking about Kundalini energy, or what they call Naga energy, right? Chi, Pra, Ra, the spiraling energy that rises up the spine, that goes up to the brain and leaks out into the universe, right? This energy gain, and it's invisible. So a negative spirit, right, is going to put you in fight or flight. Again, you are beefing with your baby mom or your baby daddy, and you're arguing, right? You're arguing about something. Blood leaves the brain, goes to the body. Cortisol gets leaked, right? Which is a poison, by the way. Cortisol is a poison, but it's necessary if you have to fight a bear or something like that, right? Or a tiger. Cortisol gets leaked, body gets tense, right? Blood goes to the arms and the legs, right? Now your IQ could drop up to 70%. That's right. When you're angry, when you're mad, when you're upset, your IQ could drop up to 70%. You could be the smartest person in the world and become a dummy. This is why people say, you know, people that are in the hood, they be like, oh, why did they do that? Why, how do they act? Why do they act that way? Or they, somebody, a loving father or a loving mother kill their kids or kill their family in a fit of rage. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not thinking logically. They call it temporary insanity, but it's really a loss of blood to the brain. Even though it's called temporary insanity, that's the temporary insanity, because you're literally your blood went to your body, and now what has happened is you engage what they call the sympathetic nervous system. This is tied into the animal within you. This human vessel is a mammal. Let's be clear, right? It's an avatar, it's divine, it has all these great forms and functions, but it is in essence a mammal, right? We're a mammal, just like a freaking cow or a horse or all that shit, right? We're mammals. We're human mammals, right? That are ascending in this vessel to be gods here in the flesh, right? But we are mammals, and there are mammalian instincts in us, just like in a tiger, a dog, a cat, an owl, a fish, right? A falcon. This is why the Egyptians or the people from Kemet use these particular symbols with these hawk head, lion head, crocodile head, hippo head gods to display the energy of the animal within you, and how you could use different animal energies and bring them to the forefront for different conditions. For instance, Sekhmet, when you are at war, right, with someone that is trying to take you out, is great. But if you're Sekhmet in the supermarket, right, because, somebody in line is taking too long, that's the right way to use that animal instinct, right? If you're Sekhmet in the middle of a cocktail party, right, and you're acting all rambunctious and raging, right, or you like, fuck that, I'm gonna go twerk on the top of the table, right? Or you're a guy, you're just drunk and belligerent, you're in your Sekhmet, right? It's not a time and place for that animalistic instinct to rise up, right? So a negative spirit will put you in that fight or flight or that animal type of mindset. You know, I hope Sekhmet was a good example to show you what I'm talking about. A Sekhmet is a female lion-headed deity for those who don't know, right? I ain't gonna pull it up, rewind it, take a break, pull that shit up yourself, right? Um, Now the positive spirit, what brings you into your godhood is rest, what they call rest and digest. This is your parasympathetic nervous system, what they call the you've heard of the paranormal, right? This is what we who are watching this and who are into this type of science, we're trying to get into. We're trying to become paranormal, right? We want the psychic abilities. We want to attract the money. We want to attract the divine partner, the divine guy, the divine girl. We want to attract nice homes. We want to attract our children in good schools. We want to attract our children to grow up and do well. We want to attract the wisdom to know what spirit to engage in when I'm on a job interview, what spirit to engage in when I'm conducting business, what spirit to engage in when I'm writing my book, what spirit to engage in when I'm talking to my mom and she's driving me crazy, what spirit to engage in when I am dealing with my sister, my baby mama, my baby daddy, right? What spirit to engage in when I am conducting a business transaction or buying a home from someone I might think is a little shady, right? This is what we are trying to get into, the paranormal. And we are also with the paranormal trying to magnetize and move these things to our advantage. This is what we call luck. This is what we call manifestation, right? By using this tool of rest and digest, right? Now, what is rest and digest? What is this parasympathetic nervous system? This is when your breathing is, and goes into 5, right? Deep breathing, right? Deep breathing, what it does, it brings more oxygen to your brain, to your frontal lobe, right? There are 4 parts of your brain, right? There's the reptilian part of your brain, which is the oldest part of your brain. And the human has evolved over time, right? We come from fish, really, and the fish that hit land and the land, and over time, the human is an evolved creature. The human, the physical structure that you see now with arms and legs, right, is an evolved structure, right? We didn't just come here like this. It took time, millions of years, right, of evolution to get to this point. But the human, what was I going to say? What was I saying? Oh, so the deep breathing, it brings more oxygen to the brain's frontal lobe. So when you are engaged in meditation, right? When you are doing ritual work, full moon, new moon, solar eclipse, equinoxes, solstice, right? And you're doing spiritual and ritual work, right? They always have chants, which we've shown to call is another way of invoking God, right? That's in the etymology. So there's chants involved, there's musical tones. Go watch Doctor Strange, actually. I'm gonna do Doctor Strange either tomorrow or Wednesday. I'm gonna go see it again tomorrow. So I'll probably do it Wednesday, but I might do it right after I go see it. But I'm gonna do a Doctor Strange 2 Decoded. Look out for that. That's gonna be a good one, right? Because it's really all about what I'm talking about and also developing the point. And if you watch Doctor Strange 2, no spoilers, you'll see meditation is in that movie heavy, heavy, heavy. In fact, when they want to do anything of high spiritual power, using high spiritual power and ability, they are in high magic, they are in meditation, right? Whether they're the good character, quote unquote, or the bad character, quote unquote. I don't look at things as good as bad. I look at it as positive and negative, all right? But I know they must exist, you know? But so what this does is this deep breathing activates the vibrating part of the spirit, right? So this has nothing to do with just the visual, right? This has nothing to do with just what you see with your eyes. This also brings about insight, right? This is why they tell you What do people tell you when you're angry? Sit down, calm down, relax, take it easy, right? This is what people tell you when you're mad, when you're upset, when you're hyper, right? When you want to knock somebody's block off. Relax, chill out, take it easy. They're trying to get you and put you back in a state of rest and digest so that your breathing will become relaxed and now you could think clearly. The most dangerous people you could be around are people that are constantly angry, constantly want to fight, right? And are constantly critical. Most dangerous people. Not only does their electromagnetic field, aka aura, rub off on you, right? But it also um it also affects your vibration and affects your magnetic field. So it affects what you attract. It affects how you think. And it puts you in, and it can be how do I say, not addictive, but it can be influential to where you will this person will be fighting for nothing and you feel like that's your friend. You got to jump in, and next thing you know, both of y'all in jail. You know what I'm saying? Next thing you know, both of y'all doing 10 or 15 for life because you hit this person, she hit them, and you hit them right back, and they hit their head on the curb and they died. And this ain't even have nothing to do with you, right? So you gotta really, really be out here with a certain spirit. It doesn't mean that you're soft, because there's times where you have to engage in the quote unquote negative or the animal spirit. There's times where you have to be segmented, right? There's times where you have to be Ogun. There's times where you have to have that Herakuti spirit. There's a time when you have to have that Shango spirit. But but it's when, right? It's when. And you being calm in the face, you being the eye in the storm, right? You being the eye in the storm is what allows you to see where and when to apply this. And sometimes you'll realize, especially when you're dealing with people, it's not worth even getting in that state. You know what I'm saying? People will try to trigger you and get you in that state, and it's not even really worth it, right? It's not something that's really compromising you, your freedom, your health, your life, your livelihood. It's just people talking shit, right? So we really got to get to a point to where we understand the spiritual principles. So deep breathing, and the more you do this via meditation, via, going out in nature, nature automatically, unless you're doing some activity, fitness activity, but nature, just sitting in nature automatically will put you in this state of rest and digest, right? Which opens up that parasympathetic nervous system. This is why your downloads, when you're out walking in the sun or you're out walking in nature or you're by a body of water, will come to you much clearer, right? You'll get better ideas. You'll get better inventions, right? You'll get better ways of doing things, right? You'll get that maybe you could be doing this instead of that, right? You'll get ideas of sharpening your sword, so to speak, right? So the vibrating part of the spirit is your breath. This is what controls your vibration. It's energy first and foremost, right? Which is just your breath that's here. The vibration, whether you're vibrating on a high frequency, which is that rest and digest, that paranormal, that parasympathetic, or you're vibrating on a lower frequency, which is that fight or flight, that sympathetic nervous system, right? This is all part of the body, the nervous system. So you, as above, so below. So even though I'm speaking about spirituality, I'm not giving you no high, out of motherfucking the universe concepts, I'm giving you concepts that are practical. So we're not just dealing with the visual, what things look like, if things look spiritual, if things sound spiritual. No, we're dealing with actual actions, actual emotions that are displayed, actual, for instance, if someone is on YouTube constantly beefing with people, right? Look at them as entertainment, but I wouldn't look at that person as a being, a spiritual being. People who are constantly roasting people, I don't look at them as spiritual beings. They may have a lot of knowledge of history. They may have a lot of knowledge of science. They may have a lot of knowledge of metaphysics, even the occult, right? But that doesn't mean that they're spiritual beings. It doesn't mean that they're spiritual beings. All right. So we really gotta vet our teachers and those that are giving this information uh, through a much more critical and discerning lens than I think the majority of us are. Number six is this is some science that so each age, right? The universe moves. Yes, I can drink some water while I'm drinking. Y'all can hit the like button if you are here. Hit that subscribe button. So we're on six now. We're about to be done. So now, when we're talking about being electromagnetic, there's an aspect of electricity and an aspect of magnetism. Now, so the Earth moves backward in the zodiac. It takes a span of 2,500 and 25,290 years, right? If you add the 2 plus 5 to the 9 plus 2 to the 0, you'll get the number 18. All right. It's 5 plus 2 plus 2 is 9. Then there's a 9. So 25,290 years, right? This is what it takes for the Earth to go around the sun into a new zodiac or into under a new star system. So we left, excuse me, what the Hindus call a yuga, right? So we left the age of Pisces, which was the age of following, the age of being under a teacher, the age of being under a prophet, so forth and so on. So now we're in the age of Aquarius, which is about the individual greatness. This is about being an Avenger, right? Each Avenger has their own powers, right? But when they come together, they're still the Avengers, right? They use each of their individual powers to become one. And this is what we are. And this is what we are becoming, by the way, those of us that are on this path doing the work, right? You may be having more lucid dreams now. I know myself, I've been dreaming lucid dreams like crazy, right? Especially around the time and right after the solstice. I've been lucid dreaming heavy. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's a lot of, I feel like there are prophecies that some are coming into pass, and I know some will come into pass in the future, right? So if you're doing this work, right, your psychic abilities are about to be tuned up. Your so-called Marvel superhero superpowers are about to come online, right? There's certain things that are a lot of people are seeing spirits that they haven't seen. You know what I'm saying? Seeing things. I was with family a couple of weeks ago. They're talking about they were seeing spirits, which I'm shocked. I'm like, I never would expect to hear this from these people, but they're seeing spirits in their dream. They're having dreams and realizing that the dreams are coming true, right? They're learning how to prophesy through their dreams. So people's spiritual powers are coming online. Are you doing the work in order to maximize this ability, right? That is the key. So each age, the zodiac moves 25,290 years. This number adds to 18. 18 breaths and above is what puts you in an externalized state, right? So it is what attacks magnetically, basically, that 18 breaths attaches you to the world as it is. This means it attaches you to the chaos, the anger, the negativity on the news, to the lady gossiping, to the dude that's a molester and a pervert, right? All these things it attaches you to when you are in this breathing state. This is the state of breath, this 18 breaths a minute that most people are in on a continuous basis and they don't realize it. This is why certain things they attach to their life, especially in most somebody who is negative, right? Negative energy is grounding energy, right? Negative energy is really grounding energy. It lowers you, it lowers your vibration. This is why the Egyptians, when they had the deity Set, he's pictured, if you look, he looks like an anteater, right? He looks like an aardvark. Let me pull that up real quick. I ain't trying to make this forever, but I want to get these. I want to give you a visual of that. So this is the Egyptian deity Set. This is the precursor to what you have called Satan. And in ancient language, there was no such thing as Satan or the devil. That doesn't exist. That is something totally new. We didn't have any such thing as Satan or the devil in any ancient language. It did not exist. It's a recent Judeo-Christian concept. So when you look at Set, right? That's a good one. So if you see, he looks a little bit like an aardvark, right? You could say he's a donkey, so forth and so on, right? But this is dealing with lower vibration. Now, we all know grounding. We all know grounding is a positive thing. Grounding is when you put your feet on the earth, right? And you take in the negative ions that are provided in the earth for healing. And you might be, you might be too much in the clouds, right? You might be one of them people that, are like, I'm from Sirius X and I'm from the planet Nibiru, right? And you're just out there, and all the concepts are these mystical concepts that you can't prove, or these mystical concepts that are just way, way out there that have nothing to do or benefit you in the here and now, right? You're still in the Christian mindset that you're looking for a heaven outside of yourself. You just became conscious and not realizing that you're looking for a heaven outside of yourself. You just replace that heaven with different aspects of the galaxy. That's it, right? And you replace the preacher for a conscious teacher on YouTube, which is what a lot of people have done. So when you look in the Set, this is the aspect where they talked about negative vibration. Again, he looks like an anteater. That's what I got from it. There's no real, from what my research, there's no real name for Set, but this is what an anteater looks like, or what his so he looks like an anteater to me. I don't know. He don't got the ears, right? So you can say it's a donkey, but nevertheless, right? So the 18 breaths a minute is what keeps you locked into this earth frequency. And the more that you are attached to the bullshit of the earth, the more you're attached to negative thinking, critical thinking, not deifying yourself, thinking that God is outside of you, thinking that the ancestors are just outside of you, not in you. Like, people talk about the ancestors and they talk about them like they talk about Christian angels. The ancestors are in you. I want you to understand that your ancestors are in you. When you are talking about working with ancestors and conjuring ancestors, they're in you. Even the ancestors that you conjure, let's say you're working with a celebrity, right? Let's say you want to conjure Nipsey, right? Or you want to work with Nipsey in meditation. You go into meditation, you're like, let me build with Nipsey for a minute, right? That's still part of you. Because remember, you're breathing, right? When you are in meditation, your breath, and this goes into it. So let's say you're working with, and easy way to do ancestral communication is simply this. Go into meditation, the image of the person that you want to see in meditation, go into meditation with that particular image, keep thinking about it, right? You can chant Om, which is simple, basic word of power, OM, Om, Om. The Hindus use it. You want to sound it out phonetically, AUM, Om, Om, right? You go into meditation, do what they call box breathing. Breathe in 4 times, push out the abdomen, breathe out 8 times, push in the abdomen. Again, breathe in 4 times, push out the abdomen, tighten it, breathe out 4 times, breathe in 4 times, push out the abdomen, tighten it, breathe out 8 times, pull in the abdomen, tighten it, repeat the process. It's going to engage the vagus nerve, also called the pneumogastric nerve. That's going to put you in a state of rest and digest. That'll allow your paranormal or the parasympathetic to kick in, and you will be able to have this communication. Especially now, the veil is very, 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 very thin. I even went in there, talk about some mystical shit, right? I even went in there and talked to Kevin Samuels, right? Normally, you can't really communicate with the dead until like 2 or 3 days, but so many people were talking about him, and the veil is so thin, I was able to have a brief communication with it. You know what I'm saying? And he's chilling. He ain't worried about nothing. You know what I'm saying? He already knew what was up. So he's chilling. He's chilling. He's in. He wasn't when I was communicating. He was in the holding station, and I didn't even really go in with the intention of communicating with him. It was just so much. I guess I was reading about so much about him. It just came. He just came to me in meditation, and we had a brief conversation. So that's how you do ancestral communication. It's not hard. And remember, you're an ancestor as well, right? You're a reincarnated ancestor if you are here, right? And you're going to be an ancestor when you die. So how do you want to be honored as an ancestor, right? Think about that. So for the so 18, also if you break down 18, these 18 breaths a minute, right? You have 3 units of 6, 666, which they say in the Bible is the number of the beast, right? The mark of the beast. They say it is also the number of man, right? It says it's the number of man. The mark of the beast is the number of man. So this 18 breaths a minute is what puts you in this negative state of being, right? It's what lowers your vibration, it lowers your frequency, it lowers your magnetism, right? It weakens your electromagnetic field, it weakens your aura, you being in this 18 breaths a minute. And the majority of people, due to anxiety, stress, worry, fear, right? Replaying old childhood trauma, replaying old relationship trauma on a day-to-day basis religiously, they're in this 18 breaths a minute. This is why meditation is so powerful. In fact, any spiritual teacher I follow and have been following recently, they talk about meditation. If you're not meditating, you're basically wasting your time. You're wasting your time following this work. You're wasting your time doing this, right? Now, I'm not saying you can't pray and you can't live a decent life and a decent existence and all that. I'm talking about people who want to become the magic. I'm talking about people who want to attract certain things. I'm talking about people who want to be lucky. I'm talking about people who want to be the best versions of themselves, right? I'm talking about people who want to be great mentally, spiritually, financially, and emotionally, right? All those 4 pillars of health, right? This is what it takes, and this is the work that it takes. And you have to respect time. You know, you have to respect time, the past, present, and future. You cannot expect to get it right away. A lot of your teachers, the ones that are really proficient, have been doing this for at least 10 to 15 years, right? They didn't just jump off the porch 2 or 3 days. You know what I'm saying? They didn't just jump off the porch a couple of years ago. A lot of those people that have jumped off the porch very, very quickly are crashing and burning. You know what I'm saying? It's evident. It's on these YouTube streets all day. So be careful again. So that 666, that is the mark of the beast, that breath. So spirituality, okay, now we understand it's about breathing. Okay, it has nothing to do with, how fancy somebody's ankh is, or how how fly their church or their temple is. There's nothing to do with that. And focus. So when you're focusing on something, right? So right now I'm talking to y'all on focus. Right now I'm probably breathing in about 8 to 9 breaths a minute because I'm focused, right? So when you're focusing on something, it does lower your breath significantly. When you're at work, you're focused, your breath is at a 9, right? 9 is also the number of Orset, or Isis, which deals with birth, right? Which deals with nurturing. So what you're focused on is also nurturing you, right? There's an exchange of energy in that focus. So be careful with what you focus on. Not to say, again, I like a little fuckery, I like a little bullshit, I watch my fights, I watch my sports, right? But most of your time, right? At least if you got 70% of water in your body, at least 70% of your time should be devoted to becoming the best version of yourself and or pouring into your family so they become the best versions of themselves. Or pouring into the people that you call your community, the people that you care about, into becoming the best version of themselves. But this is not about preaching, because again, if your aura and you're walking around and you are a certain way, you're going to attract people that fuck with you. You're gonna attract people that love you. You're gonna attract people that care about you. You're gonna attract divine partnerships. That's a fact. That's a fact. This is something that I'm living. I'm not just talking. All right. And I used to be a very negative, very cynical, very the white man's doing this, the white man's doing that. It's very the government's doing that, very conspiracy is doing that. And I'm here to tell y'all that it was a waste of time. It was a waste of time. For real. For real. It was a waste of time. Worried about what the government's gonna do. I remember in the 90s, 2000s, early 2Gs when I first learned about read Behold the Pale Horse, right? William Cooper, and they were talking about Mount Weather, right? How there's an underground city in this mountain called Mount Weather, and you know how they're hiding things and they're prepared for the Great War and things like that. And you know the book Behold the Pale Horse also talked about aliens and alien technology, and I remember just wanting to know so much about this stuff. But now I look back and I'm like, for what? If the aliens come and my mind's not right, if the aliens come and tear shit up and I don't have any way of moving around, if the aliens come and they are showing love and giving gifts and I'm not right, then what does it matter? If President Biden, let's go down a rabbit hole. President Biden zips down his motherfucking has a zipper that pops up in his head and and pops out a reptile. Since everybody wants to talk about reptilians now, right? Everybody's a clone, right? Okay, well, I'm gonna go down the rabbit hole with y'all. I'm gonna show y'all how it's a waste of time. Facts. You find out he's a clone or a reptile. What's next? You're gonna leave your job? Are you gonna leave America? Are you gonna run with your kids? What are you gonna do? What's next? Because men, especially you men, we're supposed to be problem solvers, right? So we're supposed to work these things out before we blindly just regurgitate some shit that we heard. Now, I'm not saying that some people may not be clones. I'm not saying that they're not reptilian beings. I haven't seen one yet. Maybe they are. Maybe they aren't. Who knows, right? Maybe they are clones. Maybe they're not. Who knows? They say Gucci Mane's a clone. But I had a prison experience. I know you could go in prison looking like Gucci Mane did before you went in prison. And I know you could come out looking like Gucci Mane did when he came out of prison. All it's called working out, diet, and being in the box for a while. That's it. It ain't got nothing to do with cloning. Nothing to do with cloning. All right. You could literally go in jail looking like shit and come out looking like a Greek god if you want to, if you put in the work. All right. So it has nothing to do with cloning. But in order for you to be caught up in some shit that's going to occupy your mind and fuck up your insight into something real, you'll think, oh, Gucci Mane is a clone, right? Let's again, if everybody in Congress zips down their shirt and you see a reptile pop up, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You ain't gonna do shit, but what you doing right the fuck now. That's it. Facts. The same way George Floyd happened, you burned down the city for a little bit, everything's back to normal. The same way you had the Civil War or all these other wars, everything's back to normal. You're gonna do the same shit that you've been doing. So why waste your time occupying? Now, full disclosure, I do think because of the movie Don't Look Up, I do think because of the show Space Force that they got on Netflix, and the fact that Netflix recently reissued War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise, that we will see some sort of alien, maybe an alien, I wouldn't say invasion, or maybe a disclosure, so to speak. I do think that is coming up maybe this year, early next year, right? But again, let's say they're taking people back. You think they want to take somebody from Love and Hip Hop back on their ship if they're involved enough to travel here? Do you think they want to take someone from the NBA up in their ship if these are evolved people? Like, come on. Like, what are we talking about? You know what I'm saying? If they're reptiles, so what? So what? If they're reptiles, you know what I'm saying? What business do you have? What bunker do you have? What ray gun do you have? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You, what are you gonna do? So again, a lot of this stuff is wasted time, distractions, things to occupy your mind, things to get your focus away from what you need to do for yourself and your family and for your own spiritual development. All right. This is why I'm talking about this today. And last but not least, number 7. So we have meditation plus visualization plus affirmation. This is the key to making the subconscious conscious, right? So meditation, visualization. So in meditation, visualization, affirmation, right? And meditation doesn't just mean sitting down with your fingers and your legs in lotus pose, right? Your fingers in mudras, and you chanting, right? Meditation could be, again, you out in nature, sitting down, taking in the environment by a lake, walking in the sun, listening to binaural beats, right? Meditation could also just be sitting in silence, right? While you're driving, sitting, jogging, right? You get into what they call a runner's high when you're in flow state. Yoga, when you are mastering certain practices, you get in a flow state. Qigong, when you are doing Qigong, you get in that same flow state, right? Meditation is a walking meditation when you start counting your steps. 1, 2, 1, 2. And eventually your brain and your heart kind of sync together and you get into that same flow state of meditation and the numbers start to leave, right? So there's different forms of meditation other than just sitting down in the lotus state. Find what works for you. Find what works for you. But for me, sitting down in a mudra, right? I don't have the flexibility to sit in lotus state. But for work for me is, and work works for me is meditation along with my altars and my crystals and having juju around my home and things of that nature, right? And observing the astrological time periods, like the Holy Week, the Holy Month, revolutionary time for my life. Every season, shout out to me Shout out to me following the astrology this year, for real. Shout out to me and my ancestors for guiding me this path, because life is so much better. You know what I'm saying? For real. And I had to make certain sacrifices, which I explained to y'all in some other videos already. But I had to make certain sacrifices, and the sacrifices were for my best. You know what I'm saying? For real. They were for my best, for my greater good. So I'm very grateful. Very grateful. So shout out to my ancestry. Shout out to Auntie Alice Coltrane. Shout out to Uncle Sun Ra. And shout out to my other spiritual uncle, Pharaoh Sanders, right? Because they also helped him on these journey. Um, so, so meditation, visualization. You can use these deities. You can use the orishas, right? You could use colors, right? Um, it's Monday, Moon Day. It's a day of blue. So I work from home now, but if I didn't work from home, I usually am going to be wearing something blue, right? So you want to find out each day has its own color. Sunday is a day you would wear yellow or red, right? Tuesday is another day you could dip in red, more so crimson. Uh, what's Wednesday? Wednesday is Mercury. So you could again dip in the red pool those 2 days. Thursday, you want to deal in what's Thursday? Thursday is like a silver day. You can wear white, something like white is a white, silver, things like that. And Friday would be your green day. That's when you're dealing when you're green, also yellow. And Saturday is when you deal with your black and whites, right? So normally when I'm just in a day to day, because I've been doing this for a minute, and sometimes my subconscious, I don't even think about it. I'm just wearing the color of the day. You know what I'm saying? So again, color, frequency, tapping into your astrology, learning your birth chart, right? All these things are tools to help you become the magic. They are not the magic, right? I want to make that clear. I don't care what you're working with, what you're working with angels or working with demons. They are not the magic. It is you. You conjure them. You put forth the energy. You created the symbol. You created the pentagram. You're creating the sigil, whatever that is, right? You are conjuring that, right? So it's you that is the magic, right? So it's up to you to manage the magic, right? It's up to you to know how. But eventually, you want to get to the point where you don't need none of that shit, right? Where angels and spirits just walk, angels, demons, and spirits just walk with you, right? And you control them all. You know what I'm saying? They say Solomon, that was his thing. You know, he created the seals of Solomon to control demons, right? I know you want to control these demons out here, don't you? You want to control the demons that are hurting people, molesting people, uh, mishandling people, hurting the elderly, giving people drugs they don't need, right? Setting people up, robbing people, things like that. You want to control those demons in your life. So one of the ways to do that is to become the God that you are and invoke that on a repetitive basis. Meditation, visualizations, affirmations, talking to yourself, your self talk. How do you speak to yourself when you're not talking? What runs through your mind? What do you tell yourself, right? You got to go through the process of editing that. I dropped my 7 principles. My other live I did seven, I think it's called 7 principles to something 7 principles to affect your magic or something like that. But hold on, I forget real quick. I look at my own damn page. But it was the last live that I did. Let me see. I can't even pull it up. That's weird. But anyway, yeah, 7 principles. But anyway, y'all will see it hopefully. Let me see if yeah, 7 essential mindsets for magic and mastery. That's the name of it. So this is where I go into the mindsets needed. That is what's going to deal with your affirmation, your verbal process, because you have to have concepts before you ascend higher on the tree of life, right? What they would call the Kabbalah. Right, Kemet has their own version, but you know, visualization is. Let me use this side. You could get this off Amazon. This is like $10, right? Basic understanding of the Kabbalah. But when you're dealing with words, right? People that are articulate, people who are great at wordplay, right? People that speak well. It's under, you see how low it is on the tree. This is the crown of the tree. You see how low it is, right? But it is needed. So you need to have concepts and ideas, right? This is what reading is for. So you could work through concepts and ideas so you could get an understanding, right? And visualization is right here. So this is hard and this is NetSack, right? I call it NetSack, but this is NetSack, right? And it deals with visualization, but visualization is also tied into your joy, right? It's tied into fertility, it's tied into music, right? But if you notice, these 2 things are on the lower half of the spear. And then you have Yesod, this would be Yemaya, or Isis, or Set. This is her day, day of the moon day. And this deals with meditation. This deals with you impregnating the mind. This deals with the food that you are given to Heru, or the Horus or the hero that is within you, right? As you are on the hero's journey, right? So this is the realm of meditation you're developed in the womb of your mom, right? So that is a process of you being created in silence, okay? So you recreate yourself in silence. And the affirmations are here and the visualizations are here. This will make you a Heru and get you on the path to godhood. And this is when your will, right, when you're tapped into your spirit, right, you are able to bring your will into manifestation. People are able to see it, right? That's why in the Kabbalah, this is beauty, but on the Kemetic tree of life, this is Heru. For the Orishas, this would be Ogun, okay? So it's that beauty, that light that shines, but there's still more to go, right? Again, I'm gonna go into this when I get my membership set up, but there's more that you have to go through in order to get to this point where you are the magic, right? The realm of magic, whatever you're doing, tea leaves, conjuring angels, conjuring demons, all that is here, this part of the tree, here and down to Malkut, right? What we call Geb, the earth, right? The earth plane. All this is on this lower level of the tree, right? I don't care what magic, crystals, amulets, working with ancestors, necromancy, all that is down here, right? But there's obviously more to go on the tree of life. So this is the key this is the key, and this is what we're going for, making the conscious subconscious. All right. And that is really all I have for today. Dorcas Soul says, so Hero will be the masculine, the conscious, and Isis the feminine. Yes, that is correct. Yes, that is correct, Dorcas Soul. Yes, Hero would be the masculine energy. So Hero is the hero. Now we all have a little hero. We all have a hero in us, right? We want to become better, right? We want to, even if you want to save the people, right? You want to save humanity. You want to see humanity better. That's what draws you to spirituality. You want to be better, want to be a better person, maybe went through something, right? But the Isis part is the womb part. The womb is also representative of the mind, right? The brain is not the mind. The mind is the mind. The mind is everything. The universe is mental. That's the first principle in the book, the Kabbalion, which is the 7 principles of Tahuti, or the 7 principles of thought. Something we all should read or have read or have looked at. And it's something you should actually memorize, right? Just like you memorize your ABCs, you should understand those 7 laws. Because when you see certain things happening, right, you understand, oh, this is the law of gender. All right. The law of gender states that there's masculine and feminine energy. So if someone is telling me that I'm a girl, but I look like a boy, right, and I have a penis still, right, that the law of gender says that gender is gender, right? There's masculine energy and there's feminine energy now. So even though someone is operating in their feminine energy, that does not take away from the avatar of them being masculine. You know, I'll call you Jane if you want to be called Jane, right? But if you say, I got to call you a man, or I got to call you a woman rather, and you're a man, that's where I have a problem, right? Again, I got a friend named Moose. I call him Moose. He ain't no damn moose, but I call him a moose. But when he starts to say, yo, I need moose milk, or, I need, you to get me some venison, some other, whatever moose eats, right? We're going to have some issues. All right. So again, this is the way you understand. And when we talk about Isis, the feminine, the subconscious, yes, that is the subconscious mind going into Hero, becoming conscious. So this is how you manifest things. This is the law of attraction. But again, the law of attraction is right here. You would think it was higher, right? You would think it was higher, but the law of attraction is right here, is on this lower level of the tree. You still got justice, which is what this is. You got balance. This is Herakuhuti or Gabora. You got Chesed, which is Ma'at, right? Balance, the will, following the will of God. You could, in this part of the sphere, you could do anything, right? You could do anything. This is what your Freemasons, this is what your quote unquote dark occultist, right? I hate that term dark occultist because it makes it seems like everything dark is bad, right? When dark matter or dark energy are good things, they permeate the universe, right? But just for the layman, dark magic, so to speak, right? They're operating here, light magic, high magic, you're operating here on a tree, right? You still got to deal with justice, okay? How do you look at justice? How do you judge people? You still got to deal with balance, all right? Are you balanced in your life, all right? Is your emotions guided by the will of truth, by the will of God, by the will of nature, right? In the Kemetic tree of life, these would be not separat, which is on the Kabbalah, these would be netarus, okay? Or nature rule, natural, right? Netaru is just another word for gods or deities. And the deities are not gods and deities as you think of a god and deity outside of yourself. Again, these are metaphors for animalistic principles that are in you, which are essence of your spirit, right? Go back to the example where I was talking about segment, right? I'm giving y'all a brief lesson. I ain't gonna go too deep into this. So Bina, now this is in the Kemetic tree of life, Seker. This is when you're dealing with spiritual power, right? This is when the altars, the crystals, the this and that are just enhancements of who you truly are, the power you truly have within, right? This is beyond you, uh, uh, chopping off a goat's head and putting the blood on the wall on some, Lovecraft country to protect yourself, right? This is deeper than that, deeper than blood magic, all that, right? Deeper than necromancy, all. This is when you become, watch Doctor Strange, right? You'll see him invoke this particular energy of Bina when after he fights his shadow self, right? And this is ultimately, if you see this color is black and white. So this is all about you being a true balance, you understanding yin and yang, right? And good, quote unquote, good and evil, and that they are forces to be mastered, okay, and used when necessary. Then you have, actually, this comes first before that. So you have wisdom. This is when what you call your downloads, what you call your divine inspiration, where you get your ideas, right? Where, and obviously anybody of any culture, any race can get divine ideas, right? It's all about the implementation of it. Now, on the lower level, this would be right here, okay? This is just your basic imagination. But this is when you are inspired by God. This is when you're inspired by God. This is when you're inspired by your ancestors, right? You'll see this particular, this is when you're inspired by this particular energy, all right? And the crowning achievement is when you are operating according to all these principles of the tree of life. Not knowledge that I don't really subscribe to this per se part of the Kabbalah, but do as thou wilt, you know what I'm saying? But to me, when I see this dot or this knowledge, this is the true knowledge, right? True spiritual power, true spiritual wisdom, and you being in the Godhead of both of them, right? When you're just getting divine downloads, divine protection, and it's beyond the crystals, it's beyond the altars, it's beyond the conjure, and it's beyond the hoodoo, it's beyond the voodoo. You are all things. But it takes you being down here to get to there. It takes you operating down here to get to there. And this is a continuous process that's done through repetition and lifestyle. If you like what I've said, don't hesitate to hit the donation. It's right there. I accept all donations. You could hit me on the Cash App. I'll put it in here real quick. And in short, basically, spirituality means breath and it means to be tuned into your breathing. It means to understand how breathing impacts your spirit, and that your spirit is nothing more than your emotions that you manifest on a continuous basis. The frequency is what you do. Your frequency is what you do frequently. Let me give it to y'all like Omar so you remember this. Your frequency is what you do frequently, brothers and sisters. Your frequency is what you do frequently, brothers and sisters. I said your frequency is what you do frequently, brothers and sisters. So your frequency, right? That's your energy, frequency, and vibration, right? That frequency of what you do, what you tune into, what you eat, what you are watching, what you're talking about, what you're complaining about, what you're praising, what you're bigging up, what you're engaged in, right? That is going to lead to your vibration. Your vibration is nothing more than your breathing, your heartbeat. Your heartbeat, if it's over that 18 plus minutes, you're in a state of anger, fight or flight, right? Or if now to be in a meditative state, this is when, or meditative trance, this is when your heartbeat is actually 7 or less, right? With a minute. So your heart is beating 7 times or less. And If you notice when you meditate, it's kind of like holding your breath. Those of you who meditated for a while, it's like, and you'll be in a meditative trance and you're not actually breathing, right? So this could be evidence, not just from me telling you this, by you meditating and just when you meditate, see that you're not breathing, right? You might be breathing 2, 3 times a whole minute, right? Something that you don't know do when you're conscious, right? So the more you meditate, the more you're able to have this breathing naturally, the more you're able to visualize, affirm, and see things happen, gain insight into things, right? Nurture your intuition by talking to yourself, nurture your imagination by visualizing the best for you, your family, your loved ones, and so on, you in the world. And you are engaged in inspiration, finding things that inspire you on a day-to-day basis. This is lifestyle, not religion. Okay, this path is lifestyle, path of self-mastery is lifestyle, not religion. Then you will come into the I and I and eventually reach this crowning state, right? Where you become the magic. But it takes work, it takes time, it takes diligence. Doesn't happen in a day, all right? Doesn't happen in a day, it doesn't happen in 2 weeks, it doesn't happen in 2 months, it doesn't even happen in a year. Got to put the time in, got to put the work in. And the more you put the work in, the more results you'll see. Just like going to the gym, you don't gain a bodybuilder's body in 2 to 3 months or 6 months. It takes a long time to get that bodybuilder's body sculpt, doing it naturally. I don't care what genetics you have, it takes time. I think a bodybuilder takes at least 2 to 3 years for them to get ready for to be ready for an actual show. So that's the type of work you want to put in. The more work you put in, the earlier, the better. All right. But it usually takes quite some time to get to that point, right? But the good thing is right now, the time period that we're in, if you're doing shadow work, you're working on healing, you're working on your development, you're doing some of these things that I'm talking, especially the shadow work. It's very important during this time, man. Very important to find a joy in your life, to find things that you're joyful about, to find things that you enjoy doing, to find your purpose and live your purpose. And if you want to know what your purpose is again, what is it that you like to do now? What is it that you get lost in, that you get in the flow state in now, that you would do without getting paid for it? Follow that with all your heart, with all your mind, no matter what somebody says you can or can't do. Usually they're saying you can or can't do it because they never did it for themselves. However, Jada said, you think it's air you're breathing, right? Exactly. Yeah, you breathing spirit, my nigga. You're breathing spirit, believe it or not. Yeah, it's not even air, it's spirit, right? So when you take that breath and inhale, thank the Lord. All right, y'all. It's almost 10 o'clock. I've been on here for a minute. I'm going to watch the replay of Urban X. Peace, power, prosperity. If you have any comments, questions, leave them in the comment section. This helps increase the engagements, get the video out to other people. I think this message is of value, and I think it'll help a lot of people really understand what true spirituality is. It's not something that you can see, it's something that you should be. Peace, power, and prosperity. Rob Blackstorm. I love y'all. I'm out.